Hello and welcome to another episode of Nerding Out, Geeking Out. Now today we're going to do the register. So, Gresham, present. Miss Farmer.
She's missing today, sorry.
Amy.
Here.
James.
Here.
Right, register's complete. Today we've got a guest.
Hello.
Amy, who is a teacher. You might have guessed by the small joke at the start. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about spies through history in pop culture and spy tech in the real world.
And the reason for that is because I'm a history teacher. You should add that bit
Yeah, it's
in.
'cause
Not, I don't just say... Imagine if I just taught maths and you brought me in for this. That would make no sense.
No, but she really loves rocks. She loves doing geography lessons. Fucking loves rocks. Would you like to take away your first lesson, Miss?
Oh, okay.
Go straight
into it. God damn.
Because we're going to do it in chronological order. So you're doing the oldest stuff.
Do you want to do you want to briefly introduce us into what we're going to be talking about, or are you just going to let?
I mean, the cards could be a bit.
I did say it already.
Okay, fair enough.
He just wasn't listening.
No,
He's gone
maybe
into...
not. Maybe
He's zoned out.
School's
He's
been
gonna
mentioned.
I was going to say...
He's reverted back
you
into
mentioned
how he
school.
was.
Yeah, you did the register. That was the only bit I needed to say anything.
Yeah, he's reverted back to how he was like 10 years ago. It doesn't need to be paying attention for anything.
This is
else.
true.
Gretchen's not awake today. We've just proven this.
I'm here.
Present.
I am present.
In physical form,
In
not
physical
mental.
form. Mental form, probably not.
No. Yeah, so because we're going to do it in chronological order, I know that your stuff's earliest, then it'll go on to 60s and then real world in modern times. So.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of information about different people so I can sprinkle in a real life example.
Spicy.
So what do you want to know first then?
What is the earliest example of spies that you've got?
That I have.
Yeah.
So...
Mace, what is a spy?
What's a spy, miss?
Oh no, we're not doing this.
Miss!
I mean, I was going to say...
Put your hand up.
Sorry, no. I was going to say, realistically, I mean, I feel like the use of a spy would predate most of the things we know, because
that's true.
The moment you had people either taking part in warfare or, you're having one tribe versus another tribe, you'd either send someone... I mean, it was known for people to either infiltrate, lie, to either get resources, to obviously suit their own agenda, so...
Trojan horse,
exactly, yeah. So, like, I feel like it's a thing that's...
Basically, humans have always been sneaky fuckers.
Yes, people always like to lie, like to cheat.
I think as long as people have been fighting, I think...
Yeah.
I think
That's
I'm
never
assuming
happened.
someone has, Yeah, no, humans have never done that.
Never.
No, never.
Never do that.
We're known for being quite a peaceful race.
Oh, yes,
of course.
Okay, so what do you know about Elizabeth I? Does anyone
She had
know?
red hair and she was in Doctor Who.
I mean, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
she was.
Do you know anything about her family, when she became queen? What kind of struggles she faced when she became queen?
She was a woman, so she had struggles.
She
Yes.
was a woman, that's true.
Yes, that's
There we
true.
go.
Oh my days, this is really stressing me out that you're just sat there like silent, like...
You're meant to teach us.
To be fair, this is year 7 level things.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
So
but
a long
God.
time ago,
I
in a
can't
galaxy
even
far, far
remember that.
away. It does come up a little bit for GCSE depending on which exam board you're with and which topics the school has chosen. So I'll give you guys a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but
I
I don't think
we
any of you
didn't do it.
No,
did
we
history
didn't.
GCSE. So okay,
I did
Did you?
history. Yeah.
how well did you do?
I got an A star.
Oh, better than me even.
There you go.
So really, you should be the one doing all this.
No,
Yeah, it was
no,
all
no,
it was all a
becomes
military
the master.
place.
it was either World War One, World War Two, or Vietnam.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So-
that basically sounds like what we did.
Yeah.
That we did the tiniest bit that wasn't, and I think
It really
Elizabeth was
hurts
done
my
in
heart.
primary school.
Yeah, no, that really hurts my heart because that is probably very much not the case. It's just you don't remember it.
No, I do remember the stuff we covered.
Because the curriculum for secondary, realistically, they give us different themes that we should be focusing on, and it does start from the Battle of Hastings 1066. So all of that would have been covered in some form for you guys. Don't shake your head. It was. You were just a bad student.
We did the class. We did the class system. We did World War One. We did World War Two. We did I think we did a brief bit on Zulu War, just because we needed a filler episode, basically, for the lesson.
Fifth
Yeah, that's basically what it was. It was, you know, when you finish the topic
Hard to
early,
know.
because I was in the top set. So when we finish the topic early, you get moved in to just do extra stuff that they
You were
like
likely
and they're
looking
interested
at
in.
the British Empire, your favourite.
The
novel.
British
Empire.
Yeah.
Better times.
Anyway,
Anyway.
so we've clarified then you all know nothing about her. Do we at
Yes.
least know who her father was?
Was it George?
No.
Henry.
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 Which number?
The 8th.
Yes. Good.
Yay!
Now, who was her mother? All right, let's dial it back even more. Right, how many wives did Henry VIII have?
7 or 8?
Divorce
Divorce
beheaded
beheaded
died.
died.
Divorce beheaded
That's
survived.
Ah.
So that is
6.
6. Good. Right. Okay. There we are.
That's the
assume
only
it was
way I
wife
can remember
6,
No.
5,
No.
4,
No.
3,
No.
2,
Yes.
2.
Anne Boleyn. There we are.
Hey!
Gold stuffy. I should have brought some stickers in for my
Yeah,
class.
exactly. See, you are playing teacher.
Anyway, it's just trying to help me gauge how much you guys actually know whilst I'm trying to talk to you
Oh,
about
but it's
it.
not just us, you see. It's the lovely people on the other end of that
True,
camera.
yeah.
To be fair, they
Some-
probably know more.
They probably know more.
Yeah.
I'm kind of acting a little bit here that I know less, so that
Ah.
you tell me more.
Okay. Let's hope that's what my students do as well.
Yeah,
and
definitely,
That
yeah.
is exactly
Oh,
what they're doing all the
definitely.
time.
Yeah, me skibidi toilet.
Oh,
Oh,
don't.
no.
What, should we just like throw the mic at you?
So the camera's just cracked and it's decided.
Yeah.
it doesn't want to-
Sorry.
So I was trying to explain it in nice, quick, easy form. I just want to clarify to the audience that I'm not an expert on this. You're very lucky that I am actually teaching this at the moment. If we were at a different point in the year, I would not be able to remember it quite so much. It's a case of, because I have so many different classes, so many different year groups, I have to really focus on term by term, and I become an expert on that topic at that time. So, for example, if you were to ask me about the Anglo-Saxons right now, because we did that in September, I wouldn't be able to, without thinking about it, bring up any information. But because I'm currently talking about Elizabeth I in class, I've got it at the forefront of my mind.
So what you're saying is you're an expert.
I really wouldn't say that, because I just know there's going to be like some weirdo in the comments probably going,
We do not have weirdos in the
She's
comments
not
like
said
this.
We don't have
Right.
comments.
Exactly.
This is true. This is true.
Maybe then I will say a few things wrong on purpose so we get those comments.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Clickbait comments.
Anyway, so Henry VIII, he's on my history naughty list. I have a naughty list of
Oh, dear.
people throughout history that have just, there was no need to do what they did. They're just complete nightmares. And so he was desperate for an heir to the throne. Anyone know what the word heir means?
Successor.
Yes,
Successor.
Male
perfect. Thank you.
successor normally.
So
A
he's
little
after.
baby boy.
Yeah, specifically a boy. Like he could have had daughters, but based on the laws at the time, a male was preferred. Now he'd married Catherine of Aragon, his first wife, which is quite juicy gossip, really, because she was actually married to his brother before him.
Jeez.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
Gotta keep it within the family, haven't we?
Well, I guess if you've got a happy marriage with one, you might as well go for the next one along if things go sour. So yeah, that was another thing. Henry was not actually meant to be king. It was his older brother, but his older brother died, and so he became king, took on the wife. I guess it was his way of going, like, I'm just as good as my brother, see, I've married the same woman. And they were married for a long time, they got on quite well. However, she struggled with having children that lasted past childhood. It's hard to tell what really was going on in terms of gynecology down there, like, because, I mean, even nowadays, no one knows what's going on down there for modern women, let alone a few hundred years ago. So there's probably lots of theories about as to why she could not have children, or have children that last very long. But one child that did survive was Mary. Now, Henry was a cheeky lad and liked to have relations outside of his marriage. Shock, horror. And so he had a relationship with Anne Boleyn, and he had gotten her pregnant. And so he was desperate to then go, right, well, I need to marry her instead then, so that... Sorry?
I'm trying to tell you to move closer to the
I
microphone.
know, but that's just ruined the whole...
All I'm saying is Anne Boleyn must have been a special lady. Because
Yes.
the boy changed
religion.
religion.
Get yourself a
Yeah.
man that changes religion for the
Genuinely,
whole country
the
for
Catholic Church just existed for so long. I was like, yeah, no. This girl's like so good. I need to change the religion.
Yeah. So
It's the whole country.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're just a Protestant. Yeah, cool.
yeah, he's exactly. So he divorced his wife Catherine because he still liked her at the end of the day. It was just a bit of a sour note that she couldn't have a son that survived. He was desperate to marry Anne so that by the time she gave birth, they would be married and the baby could be legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
So if they hadn't, it would have been a bastard child.
A bastard.
He did have a few. He did actually have a son that lived into adulthood, which is really awkward for him that he's going through all this. And he does actually have a son, but because it was with someone else that wasn't the wife,
Proper bastard.
no chance of that being. Considering he'd had a daughter, for example, the daughter
Right.
had a better claim to the throne. So poor Anne, she did have a boy, but he didn't survive for very long, sadly, once again. And then another child came along, Elizabeth. So there we are. We get to Elizabeth.
It is.
Here she is. She was quite a formidable
Liz one.
force. Liz 1.
Not Liz 2. Liz
Not
1.
Liz 2. No, a few hundred years difference there. So her childhood, I don't know lots and lots about it, but it was alright-ish. Her mother was executed when she was 2, so she didn't really know her mother much. She didn't live with her father. She actually lived with her sister Mary. They sort of got shunned off together while Henry was off marrying other women. Now the problem here is they were brought up with different religions. So Mary, because she was Catherine of Aragon's daughter, she was Catholic. Elizabeth came about just after the Reformation, so she was brought up Protestant. So there was a little bit of awkwardness there. Then you have the third child, Edward VI, who was from the third wife, Jane Seymour. He became king. And all was well for Elizabeth. She didn't mind that. All went well because she was Protestant just like her brother. So they were like, hey, that's not too bad. Then poor Edward passed away after about 6 years on the throne. So by that time, Elizabeth was in her teens, and she was continuing to be Protestant. However, because Edward had died, the next in line was the older sister, who was Catholic. So there was quite a bit of tension there, because Mary decided to reverse everything her brother and father had done and brought Catholicism back in. And that left Elizabeth at an awkward point.
Just control Z on religion.
Yeah,
Control
exactly.
Z.
She was just sort of sat there like, well,
It's just
great,
not
thanks
going
for
to be
that.
messy at all.
Let's be honest, the people of England just don't care half the time. They're like, yes, sir, alright, I'll
Yeah,
believe that
at
one
that-
now then, shall I?
At
Alright.
that, at that period
Alright,
of time.
right,
yes,
get the gold back out, Mildred.
Well,
We've got to
yeah.
make it look pretty in here.
So, Mary was queen for about 4 years or so. And she'd married this guy called King Philip II of Spain, which was also a Catholic country. They started a war with France, which also was a Catholic country.
Nice.
There's a lot of drama with all of those countries.
Us and France. Yeah.
We liked it so much.
It's normal. Yeah, it's just like a 100-year war. Yeah.
Yeah. So Elizabeth, in her reign, was then suddenly facing a lot of different problems. Her family had left the country in debt, as in like hundreds of millions of pounds in debt, and there was no way for her to really easily fix that without potentially taxing the people, so she wasn't necessarily popular there. She was still at war with France, which now she was Protestant in charge. She's now at war with a Catholic country. That suddenly elevates it a lot more. Now, she'd also lost the ally of King Philip II of Spain because he had tried to propose to Elizabeth. So, yeah, exactly. He was married to the sister. Sister died, so he went, I'll go for the other sister. Except Elizabeth was like, nah, I'm good, man. I don't really want to marry you. And he got real butthurt over that one, understandably. I
hope you teach like this.
I don't say the word butthurt, no, but it's similar sort of way. Yeah.
If your students log in.
I know. The thing is, they've all heard this all before, so hopefully they skip past this bit. Yeah. They know I want to say it though, because I pause each time and have to think of like a better word to
Nice.
say.
Oh dear.
But it's true, he did get really butthurt, as though sort of left her in the midst of fighting this war again, which was expensive. They lost land overseas, which at this time was really quite important. They were starting to discover the new world, so losing land over there was really, really important to her. There was the whole problem you mentioned earlier, Luke, about her being a woman. Now, Mary the First had taken the title of first official Queen of England, so there was a little bit less tension there. But apologies, but men will be men, especially at that time period where they turned around and went, well, we've just had one woman in charge and she didn't do a very good job, so another woman in charge is probably not going to do a very good job. She refused to marry, which is, again, quite understandable given the options she had. There was quite limited. She did quite like a few individuals. However, she never quite married them, and you can go into a whole rabbit hole as to why that was. Overall, a famous quote, and I'm not sure how true this is, but she famously turned around and said, well, I'm married to England, not to, I don't need to marry a man, which is quite, and I quite like that. It's quite,
Fair. Yeah.
she's got some big balls there.
But Britannia is a woman, so does that make her a lesbian?
Lesbian.
Maybe.
That's what they call now.
And the final thing, the whole reason I'm going through all of this is religion. It always
Right.
comes back to religion. Whenever we're looking at different time periods throughout history, religion is a big
You're
factor
saying
there.
religion starts wars?
I mean, don't clip this
think-
one.
I wouldn't say religion starts wars. I'd say people start
Yes.
wars.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
saving me
Under the
there.
guises of religion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's everyone always has a reason for it, and religion has been a famous one used in the past.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have
people.
their ulterior motives and things.
Yes,
That's the one I'm
exactly.
going to go for.
That's definitely a trip.
So yeah. So Elizabeth was Protestant, and so she had this huge mess in front of her. So her father had done the Reformation, her brother had continued it, her sister had tried to reverse it, and now she's sitting here going, right, everyone's angry, how can I fix it? So there was a few ways of doing it. She called it the religious settlement. And the way you described it earlier, Luke, where like half the country just didn't really care, they just wanted to know what was going on. That's essentially what she did. She did this idea of like, look, I'm head of church, but what you do in your own home, fine by me, as long as you're loyal to me as head of the church. You know, if you're going to practice Catholicism at home, that's, you know, it's not hurting anyone.
Yeah.
She also did this, what we call act of uniformity, where she really tried to, in terms of the churches and how the churches ran, she sort of tried to merge things a little bit here and there. So you've got a little bit of Catholicism, a little bit of Protestantism. It's overall Protestant, but there's a few Catholic elements in there. And her aim there was to try and keep people happy, which is 50-50. Some people say she did do that well, some people say she didn't. So Elizabeth, in changing things, even though she had to, upset a lot of people.
Did they get butthurt?
Yes, they did get butthurt. So I've actually got it here on my screen, like just the list.
It's a big butt.
Just the list of the different plots against her.
Brendan's just silent because of the butt he's facing right now.
I'm gonna introduce a new character to the table now.
Okay.
Mary, Queen of Scots. She is not Mary the First,
No.
Elizabeth's sister.
No.
Mary, Queen of Scots, is her second cousin from family up in Scotland. Funny
They
enough,
just like the name Mary.
they really did. And Catherine and Elizabeth.
Strong
They didn't
British
have-
names.
Didn't have many other names back then.
James, there's
They
loads of
didn't
James.
discover
Yeah,
them.
yep.
Gertrude?
Gertrude.
Gertrude the First.
Beatrice.
That would be a good. So Mary, Queen of Scots, she became queen at about 6 days old, and she was quite liked by people up in Scotland. She was Catholic, and she married a French prince, who ended up soon after they got married inheriting the throne. So technically, at one point, you could say she was Queen of Scotland and France at the same time.
That's
Both
pretty badass.
Catholic countries. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So her first husband passed away, sadly, so she married a second husband. Now this second husband was quite abusive, not a great relationship going on there. And there's a whole load of drama with Mary as to whether she actually organised for the second husband to be killed, because there was an explosion at the house in the middle of the night. The husband was found in the garden, naked. Right?
Wait,
Was that where the butthurt comes in?
Sorry, which year? Which year is this?
That's a good question.
No, okay,
Oh
no. So,
my
Why'd you
no,
ask?
sorry, which time period? I'm just trying to
We're
figure
still
out.
in Elizabethan.
Okay.
Yeah, this is all going on.
Is Black Powder a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, Black Powder
Yes.
would be
Yeah.
a thing back then. Yeah. Okay, that's
Are
fine.
you quite alright, Gresham?
No. Yeah.
It's the.
He's not awake
I
yet, is
know,
he?
I mentioned something relatively close to, like, military history, and he perked up, like, oh,
Yeah.
explosion.
I was like, explosion? I was like, what explosion? I suppose.
Cannon.
I cannot tell you. No, it wasn't that.
no.
It would have...
had cannons.
Yes, they did,
No,
but
they
So
would
they
have
would
had
have
cans, I
had
agree.
not to
Yeah.
stage a murder.
No, I was imagining
Just a
that.
hole through him.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's the thing. So he was found naked in the garden, quite far away from the explosion of the house, to the point where he probably wouldn't have been hurt by this explosion. He was that far away. It was that big a garden. But he was found. The reason they worked out why he died was he was strangled. Nothing to do with the
Nice.
explosion. Okay, so then there was this big suspect. Again, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but there was a suspect who was the main suspect for this. Mary married that man after.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it did all
I'll
line up.
marry you if you
Yeah.
go kill my husband.
Basically,
yeah, cool, done.
yeah, that's how
Deal.
it lines up.
Sweet.
So that leaves a lot of people now suddenly very angry at Mary for doing such a thing, and so she actually felt that she had to leave Scotland and came into England. And that's where things start going wrong for Elizabeth.
Bit
because
spicy.
now we have this Catholic with a claim to the throne coming into England. And that leaves a lot of people in England who did not like Elizabeth go, oh, actually, she's quite good. And she's been queen before for 2 other Catholic countries.
But did she want the throne?
Well, that's... some people argue yes, some people argue
Right.
no.
Because I suppose there's 2 ways, right? Like, did she want the throne, or did just the unhappy people of England be like, Catholic, yeah, let's go with that one.
Yeah, exactly. So, thing is, because it's so long ago,
Yeah.
there's so many different arguments over each and every
We
detail.
need
that
to
would
build
go
a time
through.
machine to find out.
Can it be the hot tub?
Give us half an
version?
hour.
What's our time machine? Oh, jeez.
Do you reckon half an hour can build a time machine?
No, well, I mean, current physics suggests that we can go forward in time. Going
But
backwards
yeah.
is the struggle.
So, a question I ask people at this point when I'm done with my rambling. The
That
context.
was
Bear in
very
mind,
good
that
rambling.
context I've just given you, that's over a few lessons. I don't stand at the front.
And you did it in 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Well
exactly. I
Nice.
don't stand for 20 minutes.
I
there.
learned a fair amount.
This has all been built up over many, many lessons. So all I've got to do is go, remember Elizabeth? And half the time they go, yeah, half the time they go, no. And then we go from there.
100%. I'm the kid who says which one. We've had a few.
So the question I always ask the kids at this point is, if you were Elizabeth and you've got Mary coming into the country asking for help because they're related, what would you do?
Cannon.
Use a cannon,
House on fire.
set the house on fire.
Yeah.
What would you... Are you going to be as violent?
Not surprised, yeah.
Yeah.
At that time, it was
no, no,
easy to
no.
set fire.
It was easy
No,
to
no.
kill people than
Yeah.
it was to look after them.
A bit of poison
knock
in the
on
drink,
the
you know.
door. No, knock on her door and introduce Protestant. just Protestant like England back to her, and just convince her to convert.
Oh my gosh.
Like
I mean-
Clockwork Orange style. We
Yeah.
sit down on the chair.
So what we're going to do is sit down and have a discussion.
Yeah, have a
Yes.
discussion.
Yes.
And you realise just how much like commonality they have. It's fine.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
What could possibly go?
Or
So
just rock up as an old school Jehovah's Witness.
Oh,
Oh no.
oh no.
It'd be funny if one actually rung our door because we get them regularly.
No.
yeah.
Ah.
It's sweet though, because they always ask to help with the house and stuff. When I mention I've got a chronic illness, they're just like, oh, we'll come and help. And I'm like, no, thank you. Like, no,
Good.
that was meant to be like, leave me alone. Because anyway, going back to this. So what Elizabeth actually chose to do was imprison her cousin It was just house arrest though, so it wasn't quite like she wasn't in a dungeon. She was still in nice stately homes. The problem is she couldn't do and go where she wanted. There was quite a lot of control on her. So the first of the few attempts on Elizabeth's life is the Northern Rebellion. Now I promise to the viewers this does all link into Spies, because at this point there's rumours of rebellion up in the north. Elizabeth actually comes up with, and she creates a spy master. She comes up with the title of Spy Master, and she's like, you and all of your spies are going to go and find out what on earth's going on. And they find out that a group of Northern Earls who were Catholic were trying to find a way to kill Elizabeth and put Mary on the throne. They managed to find that out and stop it pretty early on. 800 people were executed as a result.
Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. She
Just
was not playing. She was like,
Jeez.
you were going to try and kill me, I'll kill you.
Fair.
So a year after that, we have what we call the Rodolphi plot. Now, the reason it was called the Rodolphi plot was because
Was it Rodolphus? Quite ridiculous.
No, it was the name of the main guy.
Oh.
Was he French by any chance?
He's Italian.
Oh, okay.
Catholic as well, though. We're noticing a theme here. So, again, they wanted to free Mary, get her to marry. It was the Duke of Norfolk, and then make them king and queen. And once again, Elizabeth's spies got on that straight away and was like, no, we're not.
This is a stupid question.
No?
Why not kill her?
What do you mean?
If Mary was going to be the
Well-
cause of all of these kind of plots, why not remove her from the playing field?
Yeah, it was, I think, a little bit for Elizabeth, it was family, and she didn't have a lot of it. Like, she'd lost her mother at 2, her dad at 13, then her brother, then her sister.
Fair.
And if you did, would it create a bit of like a martyr?
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
The peasants would have revolted.
Because you could put blame on someone else. Obviously, have her killed. Leave her your part of a French flag, maybe a couple of croissants along the way. You know, going outside of the castle, and then suddenly we're at war with France again. It's all fine.
Well,
it's all fine and dandy.
Some people...
Normality will be restored. Is that what you're saying?
It'd be such a British thing to do.
Wrote history.
There
was croissants everywhere.
France. I know it's you.
There's a drip of jam from his lip.
I don't know how else you'd give off that it's obviously French.
I don't know what other French stereotypes we get out with garlic around the neck,
Baguettes.
a striped jumper,
Baguettes, yeah, striped tops, yeah.
beret.
Just a mime, just there, just miming how this person was killed.
Anyway.
Sorry. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Thanks,
Another thing is, there was no, or at least as far as we know, there was no concrete evidence that Mary was actually involved in any of these plots. It was more so the men involved telling her, like, this is what's going to happen. And Mary, half the time, I believe, at least in the earlier ones, didn't fully know what was going on.
Right.
At least that's what, there was no evidence found by the spy masters at that point. So then we go on, quite a bit of time, it settles down 13 years. The Throckmorton plot comes along. And again, similar sort of thing. Throckmorton is a Catholic man who, same old, wanted to kill Elizabeth, put Mary on the throne. The spy ministers, Francis Walsingham especially, found it out and was like, no, we're going to stop that, and got them all executed. What are you smirking at? It's my tissue.
Your little old lady tissue that you just shoved down your
I've
down
got
your
a tickle
jumper.
in my nose, alright? Leave me alone.
Also, so during this whole time, is the native, are the Scots still annoyed at Mary?
A little bit, yeah.
Still, so they held on to that grudge for quite a long time then.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure
the
as to
Scots annoyed
why
at
they
someone
were
in Britain?
so upset about it. Maybe the second husband they held in quite high regard. My focus has always been on Elizabeth more so. It's just you need to understand why she had to leave Scotland to come to England and couldn't easily go back.
Yeah, I was just wondering why she couldn't have gone back this whole time if there's so much support for her.
Yeah.
But I suppose if she's not getting that from the Scottish, then
Yeah,
it's
exactly. And then the final one, the Babington plot, was 3 years later, and this is where it all starts to go a bit tits up for Mary, because
Choice of words. It's But would they have an affair?
No.
No, she just had great tits.
This-
Oh, I should get the rose up.
That's it.
This time,
You're unhinged today. You okay?
he's gone. He's gone. I mentioned tits, you will just get really excited.
Oh,
Anyway, so this time evidence was found that Mary had an idea of what was going on in this plot. Again, same old, same old. They wanted to kill Elizabeth. Mary was going to be put on the throne. However, the spies this time found a coded letter in the place where Mary was staying. And I actually have it here for you now as a little...
The original?
the real one?
Not
Wow!
Damn!
That's amazing!
How
get
did they let
Spies
you
to
take it out of the museum?
What? Bear with, it's on the floor.
She's a bit old. So old.
You're older than me.
No, you're the only
You can't say that. We could say that to you, yes.
So I thought you might want to try the cipher.
boy.
So you have
It's
it...
worksheet time.
Yeah, worksheet time.
But earlier you said you're off duty.
That is true. Some things, I guess, just are inherent. Like I have to... my fingers itch if I'm talking about history and I don't bring out a worksheet.
That's a dick on it.
Do you actually want to do it?
I'm down.
Go on then.
Alright.
Okay.
I'm just intrigued to see how a dyslexic person deals with a cipher.
Right, we're going. Good luck, Lou. We're gonna need it.
There you are. So, just for the listeners who might not see what's going on, at the top of the sheet we have a load of different symbols, and then underneath we have the alphabet with a symbol that applies to each letter of the alphabet. There are actually some symbols in there that are fake and are in there to confuse. Some words are summarised by just one symbol, and there is a symbol to show there's a repeat letter. So I'll let you work out what it actually says.
Dear.
I actually already have the answer. Here's one I created earlier. So if you
This is
struggle,
the blurriest. I think
Yes.
this is very blurry, miss.
Well,
The
I
print
managed.
quality's rubbish.
It's one of those things. I think it's just like a worksheet that has just been
dick.
copied.
Second one.
The second one's a penis.
It is a worksheet that's just been copied and copied and copied over and over and over
I
again.
can tell.
Yeah.
Oh dear. This is,
I've not got much space to work with here.
I think there might be our first fast forwarding in this episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
should we
do
just do
that
it?
all, like-
Can you do like a?
I feel like you need to do that for my bit where I'm talking earlier throughout history. I could see like your eyes glossing over, Luke, when I was talking.
That's why I kept coming in with the random shit. Just to keep Luke entertained.
Yeah, there is always one kid in each class that puts their hand up and just asks the most ridiculous question.
That's me.
I was actually
I've
teaching.
got my favourite word, the.
Yeah.
So, once I was teaching about this similar sort of lesson, and then a kid puts their hand up, and I of course go, yeah, what's up? And they go, did Adolf Hitler kill himself? And I'm thinking, hang on.
This is the wrong era.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
wrong
exactly.
era
Where did
for
you
that.
even?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's always one.
That's kind of funny though.
Yeah, I've gotten to that point in my teaching career now where half the time I just laugh with the kids, which I shouldn't do half the time. But sometimes you can't help it. Kids are funny.
That's fair.
I'm trying to rush this like crazy.
Yeah, I'm failing now.
I don't know what I can't. I feel like one of them's been photocopied to not exist anymore, so I'm just ignore that one.
That's fine. Like, you might be able to get just some of the words and then kind of fill the gaps a little bit yourself.
No, because that is a problem with my brain. I can't do that.
Set the.
Oh,
You
he's
saw me trying to do
brushes
the-
away. He's done the first line already.
Yeah, he's much further.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
You're
not.
just complaining the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I don't complain, you don't listen.
Is this why we've sat James next to me so I can do
No, it's
the
not.
one?
I'm just not even. I can't see half of this.
Yeah.
It does, like, most of the stuff I'm writing doesn't make any sense anyway, so I don't think it's.
You don't think what?
I think there is letters in here that did you say there's letters that don't actually make sense?
Yes, although I don't think in this section of the letter they have been used.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just not spelling words. I'm just doing random letters at the moment.
That's a weird one.
Oh, it's an E. Oh, right, I'm blind.
Yeah, some of it's so badly photocopied. You really need to try and find a fresh resource for the bottom
Or just
one.
recreate it.
Well, as long as you actually know what it's meant to say, I think you're okay.
Mm.
But
Well, funny enough, I do
half of
know.
the circles with a squiggle on them are all of the ones that are
A bit weird.
a bit weird and non-existent. So I'm just writing letters and it's not making words. Like SVCWESA is not a word.
Let me see, where have you put that?
Look, half of it's not words to me.
Sorry, I should just look at your work and laugh.
Oh, that's not very productive, is it, miss?
I'm just thinking, how on earth did you get
That's
that?
because I'll circle the ones that look the same.
You're rushing, because the other two are getting it just fine.
No, these three are the same letter. Because they're so badly photocopied, I
mean,
can't
then-
make out what it says.
Okay. When was the last time you went to get your eyes tested?
This year.
Oh, okay.
I can see the pixelation really well. I can tell you it's pixelated. I know that the dick means the now.
That is...
You should know that pretty early on.
Yeah.
Why?
Whose dick is that? Because that's concerning if that's a dick for you guys. It's 3 circles.
It's a cartoon, Pete.
It's a cartoon thing. Which bloody...
They could be A, F, or W.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I'm going to go for F.
I'm gonna go for F.
I don't know which one it's going to be. The ones that I circled. Who knows?
That's a repeat letter of what? Yeah, that word I'm at a loss for.
Some of it's really clear.
Yeah.
Other bits, not
Other
so
bits,
much.
not so much.
Oh, this is really giving me flashbacks to school.
Stressing you out.
Yeah.
How about, because we don't have any dead air, what was your favourite topic in history that you learned about in school?
My favourite topic? The home front.
That's a good one. Lots of...
Because it was
Shenanigans.
actually relatable.
Yeah, especially...
I've got that, miss.
So what have
I
you
don't
wrote?
think
I
it's
should have got
very
a red
close.
pen.
I've failed.
Half of it's not words, because of the 3 letters that I've circled.
Okay, you are nearly there, genuinely.
I know, it's the 3 letters I circled that are wrong. Because I can't work out which one it is.
No, it's fine. But I'm sure you can kind of work out...
I do think you need to update that though, because if I can't do
Right,
it...
okay, but...
Oh no, my lights
Oh no,
are
the
on.
kids managed fine.
Oh, it's got hot, that's why. Feel that. Feel my light.
You are that kid that we're talking about right now, where I'm
Yes,
in the
I am.
middle of marking your work and you're like, feel how hot my light is.
Sorry.
Can you actually work out, do you think, what it
No.
says? You really should. You can't fill the gaps.
Set the 6
Some of the letters are wrong, so you might need to change some of the letters to make it make sense.
It's fine.
No? You're not that fussed.
No, someone else will do it for me. And then I can copy their work.
Okay,
Miss.
you were that kid at
I
work
can
at
copy their
school.
work. Rush it as quickly as possible. Give everyone the wrong answer. And then Hopefully someone gets the last bit.
Well, I'm really interested how you're filling out the sheet. It's different to how I filled it out.
What do you mean?
Well, I wrote the answer in the lines underneath.
That's
And then-
impossible. Because then you're going between three sets of letters.
Well, yeah, then I
Which
just...
if you've got dyslexia, you can't do.
Well, obviously I don't have, but I was then crossing
It's
out
not inclusive, is it?
No.
I'm just explaining how
See?
I did it. I didn't say you had
James,
to
are
do
you
it the same
struggling?
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, you need to take this as a learning experience.
Hey,
Stop complaining.
Well,
Why
just
do
to
you
just to
ask
show,
him
just to
to
prove
do
a
it?
point here, I got taken out of history to do English. I missed history to do extra English classes.
Which, to be fair, some of the time
And
probably
French.
is just as fine. Depending on what you were doing in English, some of it does tie over. No? Didn't do Shakespeare at all or anything?
Not at that time.
Okay.
Not in those particular
Oh, is it
classes.
not content? It's more so like...
It's more so making sure I pass my English
Yeah.
GCSE.
Yeah, I don't know what that one is.
Okay. Are you nearly
I
ready to
changed
call
one
it quits?
letter.
I think Bresh has got it.
No, there's certain words that I'm just
Oh,
not
no.
getting. It's this one and that one. Just really struggling with. Can we just go word by word? What have you got?
Set the six
gentlemen to work upon the
Schwadawada.
that
SVCWE.
that
Oh,
one-
yeah, that
that
very
one's-
common word they used in Elizabethan times. Sure, what?
Okay.
Have you got the same then?
No, okay. So
He's
for
got
now,
muddled.
for now, let's just miss that.
Of the plan.
Yep, of the plan.
I-
First of May.
1st of May. I've got
Get out of here.
I've got
Is actually meant
MSY.
to be 1st of May. Or is it I May? Oh, I May! Get out of here! Fucking hell! I May!
1st of May? No,
First
it's
of
not
May.
the 1st of May today, actually. It's a different day.
Get out of
Yep.
Hera.
Oh, here. Here. Get out of here.
Okay, bear in mind
I
that she
don't know how I've
was...
managed to do that. I've done the different letter between the same symbol. Yes, here.
Okay,
There we go.
do you want me to give you
Yes.
what it is? You were really that close. So set the six gentlemen to work upon the success... Oh, sorry. Upon the success of the plan, I may get out of here.
That's success.
That?
Success.
Oh! No! Oh, I see it now. Fuck, that's so annoying.
So,
Right, yep, yeah.
for
no,
the
okay,
spies
fair
to
enough.
find that...
Okay,
Yours is clearer. I think it's our printer. Look,
Let's have a look.
look at these ones.
I mean, look at that.
You've got a dot there that's quite clear.
Oh, I can't even see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this is because Amy used the printer when the toner hasn't been swapped yet.
That's what we'll put it down to.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got there in the end.
Point is, when the spies found that out,
I'll show you. Yeah, no.
it was pretty incriminating for poor Mary.
I feel incriminated, is it?
So, going back to your earlier question of like, why did they keep her around? What was the point of keeping her around? Well, now they've got evidence, and so Mary was executed.
So
Elizabeth
they were
did order.
waiting.
They were
just
waiting for that
on
like
evidence.
concrete
Okay.
evidence, so that if someone were to go, somewhere
but-
were to go, why have you done that?
But like realistically, you know, who's that for? Is that for the people? Because I mean, if you're a member of the public, you're not going to believe that.
And also, not really care that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's for her own.
It's probably just
Yeah.
for her own, right? Okay.
I believe so. I'm not 100% like.
For
I'd
her
say
own
I'm not an
conscience
expert.
is
Yeah,
probably what it
yeah,
is.
and there were rumours that she was quite broken up over signing the execution notice, so it could be very much that she'd ordered her own family member to be killed, and given her upbringing, that was a bit upsetting.
Is
Anyway,
there any evidence that it was planted?
Yeah.
well,
was actually her.
potentially,
From an alternative spy network.
yeah, it could be just Walsall was like, I'm done with this job. Let's just.
Planted like the Tudor rose she sprung from.
Jesus.
The War of the Roses.
But
Was that about Yorkshire?
I was gonna say, obviously, I think I might have been the French, you know. Just throw him under the bus for no reason.
They started it.
Yeah, oui.
so ciphers have been used throughout history for multiple different reasons. And actually, I'm going to take you on to the next topic. My next topic, which is during the Second World War.
So we're going through time.
Go to free time, yeah.
Dun 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 dun.
Oh, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Right.
Ah, come on, Gresham.
Yeah.
Out of tune there.
There we go. We're in World War II now.
Okay, right.
Cool.
do we need to do like the setting of like bombs in the background and? Okay.
Just bombarding us with a single mortar.
Yes.
It's like, why is it so slow? It's like, oh, they've only got one, mate.
So
One at a time.
Just the one.
Just the
bomb,
one,
actually.
actually.
during the Second World War, I just want to preface again, I'm not an expert on this. I have not taught this for a little while, so I am a little bit more rusty on this topic.
Expert.
Yes, miss.
But the Germans were doing a bit of a run around on the British, and the reason for that is
What a
because
coincidence.
Is he German?
oh, here we go. So they had what we call an Enigma machine, which is where it was scrambling the so the message would be written out, and then it would scramble the message enough that anyone who intercepts the message wouldn't be able to understand it, but when it got to the other end, they would use their version of the Enigma machine to uncode it and work out. What are you looking at?
Does it matter?
Well, I'm a bit concerned that while I'm talking, both times you've all gone.
I'm always checking the equipment as we go,
Okay.
because I'm the tech guy.
Okay.
Stop blaming me for stuff, miss. I'm just sitting here doing my job.
So.
You're 100% the kid who was just like leaning back in the chair.
Yeah.
At the back of class. No,
No,
you
that
not.
was the kid next to me, which I pulled the chair legs out from behind because they kept bullying me. Never bullied me again.
And then everyone clapped.
Yeah. And the teacher came over and said, I saw what you were doing, other person. Don't do it again. And then just looked at me and said, did a nod. And I was like, there we go.
It is one of those things, yeah. Again, you've got to have the evidence. Sometimes, you know, if it's a case of bullying and you can see it, but there's no physical evidence there, you can't easily defend the person who's being bullied, because the person who is bullying often turns around and is just like, at you, and then they get mum or dad involved, and then you get from the other end, and it becomes a whole thing. And sometimes, as horrible as it sounds, sometimes you've got to let the kids work it out for themselves. Learn to defend themselves a little bit, and you've just got to...
I just had thick skin and then went, nah.
Yeah,
And
I'm
that kid
tired
did
of
not
it.
know what was coming.
Yeah, but you did it I would argue, in a sensible way. You could just, plausible deniability. Oh, they were rocking on their chair. I don't know what happened.
You were secretly plotting
I was a
against them.
spy.
I just want to clarify as well, as a teacher, I don't let all the kids full on fight each other. It's not WWE SmackDown in my classroom, and I'm like, oh, well, they were bullying each other, so it's fine.
Yes. That's
That'll
what
be
we should
quite-
arrange.
that'll be quite
It's
funny.
just as an
Ladders
adult
and chairs
sometimes
match.
you look at such scenarios and you just sort of think, right, well,
Snakes and ladders.
It'll be rulers.
after
Rulers and chairs.
shatter resistant ones, you snap
Sex
it.
as well. Yeah, why not?
Jeez.
But as an adult, you look at scenarios like that and you just sort of think, right, realistically, I don't need to get too involved here. I'm keeping an eye on it. They can sort it out themselves to a certain level. Which is what that teacher
Welcome
did.
to
So
Amy
hats off
Spy
to them.
Training.
Yeah. So
What a segue.
back to World War II. Do you want to do the side effects again? There we go. So the British. The British.
Sounds like a bee going past.
Yeah! I was like, what the hell was that meant to be? And it was only after the explosion I was like, maybe that was meant to be a plane. Just maybe.
It was always the longest plane.
Oh, of course it was. Oh, boy.
So British intelligence were like, look, we can't let this keep going on. We need to find a way to break the codes. We can easily intercept the messages, but we can't understand what's being said in them. So they took over the stately house in Bletchley Park, which I believe you've been to before.
I've been to Bletchley Park.
Is it nice?
It's a lovely house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's weird that they. It looks lovely, and then you realise they put these I'd say they look like 1960s builds. I think on the back now.
Oh right.
Where the museum-y bit is from memory. I might be misremembering it, but I feel like it was like that because it was a very long time ago. Very long time ago. This was when
you're
I
not
was
that old, are
starting
you?
secondary. I was
No,
in the
he
summer
isn't.
school.
So old.
That was 20 years ago.
Anyway, So yeah, they took over the stately home and hired a few very, very smart individuals to work together to break the code. One of those people was Alan Turing, and he was what he did to try and get people to join him as so he'd been selected, and then to try and get people to join him to work out who's actually smart enough. He did a crossword. So similar to like I gave you the worksheet, he gave out a crossword, a puzzle, and put it through the newspaper. People who completed it were told to come to this place at this time and complete a test as well as that, which people did. And he, those that easily completed his crossword and completed his test, he deemed, well, they're clearly smart enough at breaking codes, they can come and work for me. So he created, while other people were working through the messages, he created what we call a bomb machine, and it's spelt with a bomb with an E on the end. And it's quite cute, really, in a way that he named it Christopher after his first love, which I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know whether that's weird or cute, bit of both, I think.
That's an important detail I feel like you've missed out of Alan Turing, because he was the first closeted homosexual at the time period, I think, that I can think of. The other one that I'm thinking of is Oscar Wilde, who's the writer.
I'll definitely
But
get
it's
to that section of it. The
it's
follow-up.
really sad.
Yeah, the ending is sad. But he was making this machine, and he actually got in trouble a little bit with his team because he was spending a lot of time working on the machine. And the problem is the messages, they would change every day. Or the code, would change every day. And so you had a team of people scrambling to try and break the code every day. And some days they did break the code, some days they didn't break the code. And he was sat there with his machine. So they were sort of like, what on earth's going on here? Like, you recruited us to help you, and now you're not really helping us. But his machine ended up being the one that would help break the code, because the Germans slipped up. What's that?
I know why, miss.
Why?
It's because they always say Heil Hitler at the end of each message.
So essentially, they would just input that into the machine, and it would work out the difference between letters. Because what it was is, it's hard to explain without showing it. I'm sure I can get you to.
It's a mechanical contraption.
Well, no, it's in how the lettering, the codes actually worked.
Oh.
It was just a mix-up of the alphabet.
It was like a Caesar shift cipher.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
is
but
the
more
basic version.
complex.
Yes.
Yeah. So, for example, if they found out the words Hail Hitler appeared as like JGKN, then they could work out the difference in the letters and sort of shift the alphabet around. Obviously, the humans could do that at speed, but the machine could do it even faster. So the first message of the day, the machine could go, pink, there we go, that's the difference. Then the rest of the people could work out the messages and go from there. And that actually saved hundreds and maybe thousands of lives, because what it meant was then the British intelligence was able to go to the military and say, there's a submarine going from this place to this place, you need to intercept them because they're going to attack this place.
They did have to be careful at the time, didn't they?
Yeah,
to make sure they didn't let on that they knew.
Yeah.
It couldn't be too obvious, because otherwise the Germans would figure it out. Yeah.
So they had to sadly let a few go through, which I imagine was heartbreaking in some ways. The military maybe not so much, because they see it more as numbers and strategy, but those individuals that are working and they're a bit more detached from being a part of the war efforts, you could say, because they're in a room deciphering codes. Yeah, that could be quite upsetting. So there's actually a really great film that depicts the whole story, and I use clips of that throughout.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Huh?
Benedict Pumbersnatch.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
I thought you were trying to talk about Cabbage Patch Kids or something for a second. I was like, hello.
I was like, what is he on about?
He's that really
I
fictional.
was going to say, for any viewers who don't know much about this, Imitation Game, fantastic movie.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend
very
watching
good.
Yeah.
So that brings me to near enough the end of my lecture.
And it segues beautifully, because we're talking about film. And we're going to move on now to talk about James Bond. So yes, off the back of that, we're going to go into the 1960s James Bond. Got my notes ready. Oh yes.
Do you want me to set the scene of why there was tension at the time?
Go on for it. Go for it.
Oh, there was nothing going on. I don't know what you're on about.
No,
We're
it's
in the
fine.
middle of the Cold War at that point, and actually you could argue that's where tensions were highest.
Bit chilly.
Yeah. So, following the Second World War, the Russians and the Americans and the British were all allies, but they quickly realised there was a lot of cultural differences once they lost that. Their main
The commonality between
commonality. Yeah. They no longer had this one guy they all hated.
Yep.
So they then started to turn on each other because there was a lot of discussions about what should happen with Europe next.
And who are we scared of in the Cold War?
Stalin.
Which is
The Russians.
Russians.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was just getting to that point.
Info
Yeah, no, I was just
You
getting
must
to that
have
bit. So Stalin was making a lot of demands for the layout of Europe because he felt that he'd been attacked. Well, he was attacked by the Germans.
Quite
And
devastatingly.
because they went back on their treaty, and so he was really keen on creating his sort of Soviet bloc and actually taking control of countries. And then the other two leaders, the British and the Americans, were turning around going, that seems a bit sus. Like, maybe let's not allow that. And so there's a lot of fighting because of that. But we call it a Cold War because there was no actual war. There were a few battles here and there that they might have taken control of here and sort of influence, but there was no actual
There was skirmishes.
fighting.
It was all quite quiet. Is what it was.
Lots of bickering, which then does lead us into a lot of propaganda being spread about each other.
And one of the main propagandas was James Bond. So it was a 1953 novel originally called Casino Royale, which was actually relatively recently adapted into film. He also did another 13 novels, Mr. Ian Fleming, until he died in 1964. But just before his death, 2 years before, James Bond became a blockbuster hit in the cinemas in 1962 with Dr. No. So there has, of course, now been more Bond films than there actually have been written. Most of them are just based on the character. But in these films, we see a extravagant gentleman, James Bond, normally with a bit of an accent like that, going around killing spies. And back in the old days, in the original ones, of course, it was always against Russia. That was the core thing. It was originally the books were used kind of as a propaganda boost because it was normally Cold War based villains. Basically villainising another country. We don't do that anymore, do we? No, we never do that. No. As normally very exotic locations with high stakes gambling, confrontations with larger than life villains,
Beautiful women.
beautiful women. Yes, the Bond woman became quite a big thing, especially when the films started coming out. We see many people over the decades playing this character, and I'd say the villain kind of evolves from being Russia over time, and quite often, funnily enough, turns to German because of the war. And then more recently, we've actually seen villains which are British. So you've got Sean Bean, who played a spy that went against Bond. But yeah, it's interesting to see Bond, even after the death of Fleming, has kind of been used to mirror what's happening in the world at the time. And the villains always kind of resemble that. One of my favourite ones, which I always talk about, is Tomorrow Never Dies, because back in the day when it came out, it actually seemed ridiculously unrealistic that you've got this typhoon changing the news and everyone believing it, and him saying the only good news is bad news. And now we've got people literally doing that, and also those people are now partly helping run the military. That sounds very familiar to that film.
Do you think there'll be one in the future looking at like AI?
Oh, there has to be one at some point, right?
It wouldn't surprise me if this is going to be part of the next era of Bond.
Probably. But as a segue back into what we're talking about, so spies, let's go to spy tech. So I'm going to quiz you guys and ask you,
boy.
what spy tech do you remember from Bond? Let's start with you, James.
I'll always remember, there's two that always stick out, is the tracker in the heel of the shoe,
Yeah.
and it follows on from that in the Aston Martin, the DB5, when he lifts up what I assumed would be the
Cigarette lighter console area.
Yeah, and it ends up being a sat-nav, so it's a tracking device where it shows where he is on a map, which is kind of like the precursor to...
Yes, and the original version of that, because, of course, we change what's in the cars over time. This original version of the DB5, that's the original Bond car, isn't it? DB5. Yeah. It was just switches and buttons for things like ejector seats and stuff.
Yes.
So it's quite funny. It's kind of like slightly modernised in the newer ones.
I always remember that particular one is because it was when he was on the... So it's that famous picture of him leaning on the DB now.
Yes.
The DB5.
Yes, the one of Connery.
Yes.
And then they recreated it with Craig, didn't they, in the later one as well?
I haven't...
Did they?
Yeah, they did a reshoot of it. It was really cool. And then they did a side by side.
That's cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's always what I always remember about those particular tech.
What about you, Gresham?
Annoyingly, two of the same ones. I was going to say the other ones were probably just the cars.
Yeah.
They were always just packed full of tech, like ejector seats. Oh, hello.
Hello.
I think it stopped overheating.
Oh.
No,
it's
telling me it's not happy.
It just liked you mentioning cars.
Yeah, it's like, hello, I'm there.
This is where we're going to go to sleep at night and just see a glow appear.
It's like, what? I can't remember which James Bond it was, where you had the crazy car that what's it called converts into a submersible.
That would be The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah,
with Roger Moore.
I remember that. That was so rogue, but also so cool
I've
because
seen that car as well.
I don't know. I wasn't aware of Transformers at the time, but I was just like, that's so cool. It's like a car turning into a submarine. Hell yeah! Who doesn't?
What is this? It's more than meets the eye.
Yeah, I want it.
Was it the Lotus that did that?
It was a Lotus, yes,
yeah.
White Lotus.
It was a White Lotus.
It was the one that was designed by the same designer that designed the DeLorean. Because originally I wanted that car. Then I saw how unreliable they were.
No.
Yeah, and then I saw, but
Lots
the
of
same
trouble,
usually...
usually.
Yeah.
What does the S stand for?
The same designer also designed the DeLorean.
Serious.
So that's why I got the DeLorean.
Yeah.
Because I was very close to getting one of those instead at the time. Actually,
It's not low turf, is it? It's not lots of trouble. Usually fine. No.
everyone always thinks it's because I was a Back to the Future fan originally. No, that just happened because I got the car more. I was more of a Bond fan, but that car was an unrealistic thing to have as
What's
daily
next?
driver.
DB5, DB4, Vantage. Vantages are coming down.
I've always been looking at the V12 BMW.
Oh yeah.
That he had in Tomorrow Never Dies, but to run a V12 as a daily doesn't seem like a good idea.
Small issue.
Yeah. So what about your ones, Amy? What do you remember or know?
I've not really watched many James Bond films.
You haven't?
No.
Oh, that's a surprise.
Why? Why are you saying it like that?
Because I'm just putting you on the spot. That's all.
Oh, okay. I see why you put me over here now.
Yeah, so I don't get hit.
Space.
So there's two. There's one that James Bond himself didn't use. It's the maid who had the knife in her shoe and went to try and attack him with that. And then also when, I don't know which film it is that you're going to have to help me out here, but where he actually has control of the car through his phone. It's like a remote control. Yeah. Like the full car.
That is Tomorrow Never Dies.
Yeah. That was cool.
Yeah, because they have the chase scene inside the parking lot. And
he's like laying down or
something. He like starts the car up, and then all of the guards are like, "What? Why?" And then he moves it around near him, and then opens the door and jumps into the back seats. And is controlling it from the back seats, which is really cool because that's something we're almost at now with cars as well. Because that was in, let me just get the exact, I think it was in 97 that film was. So we are still on brick phones that are black and white screens with no detail whatsoever.
But they had Snake.
They did have Snake. But somehow he had more than Snake on his phone, and he was able to actually also at the same time have one of the world's first flip phones.
Yep.
Because it expands to a whole keypad. So It predicted flip phones. It predicted the fact that you could start your car up and do things with it, like you can with Tesla now.
Yep.
And it predicted RC control being so easy to do in a full-size vehicle, which we have seen in a lot of, not really official stuff, but hobbyists doing it recently.
Yes.
I think we've kind of skipped that in the world of cars now.
Yeah.
We've gone from basically to self-driving.
Yeah.
We've
Yep.
missed that controller aspect.
Yeah, the controller aspect's kind of, it skipped to press the button, it moves forward from the parking
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
It was a bit moot because if you had to use kind of like a controller to control it, what was really the big difference between that and you actually driving it?
Yeah.
You
But
can
yes.
drive for someone else.
They've
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
even like now the hybrids they've taken it to where you can control pretty much all the internal. You can control how your aircon, so that you can heat the car up or cool it down before you even get there. So that's probably a similar idea to how they took that from James Bond's style.
Yeah. And adjacent to that as well, we've also got cars like Kit from Knight Rider as well, which is a spy car
Yep.
of the 80s.
That uses AI really, doesn't
Which
it?
is the AI
Kit,
car,
Kit
right?
was AI, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, that's an interesting one. And then there's the...
Oh, sneeze brewing. I'm sorry.
she's gonna blow!
Oh, apologies. It's gone.
It's
for a
gonna
minute.
happen.
Yeah, I was
It's
going to
just
say,
gonna happen.
it's not going to happen now. It'll happen in a few minutes' time.
Yeah. So yeah, my favourite ones are probably... I really like the laser built into the watch. I thought that was
cool.
quite a useful one.
That was cool.
The other thing that I noticed when we actually watched a clip yesterday, it was the World Is Not Enough, where Electric King and Bond are in the snow, and an avalanche happens and he does the big ball. But the interesting thing is, he's got a light built into his watch to light up the dome when they're inside, like a proper light, not like just a slight glow. And I was like, oh, that's something we've done as well since that came out. So that was quite interesting. As like a really small minutia detail that, like, at the time, probably people didn't think about it much.
No.
But nowadays you'd watch it and go,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because like
you've
my
got
Apple
that
Watch,
on there, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it can turn into a torch as such.
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It just makes the screen
says
really
yeah,
bright.
yeah. It just puts... It just, sets all the pixels just to white.
But in 99 you couldn't technically do that because you wouldn't have LEDs small enough and bright enough to actually do something like that
Yeah,
without
it would've
it
been a
being a
bulb.
prop.
Yeah.
I mean, I think around that time there was I think it might have been slightly after, there was a watch-sized phone, but it had to have a wire that went all the way up into a giant backpack. So it was like the first, oh, look, I can call from my watch, but I've got to have this giant...
It's a bit like the prop making in Back to the Future where they have the self-lacing Nikes.
Yes.
And one of the props, I think they tried it with battery packs, they just couldn't get the torque on it. So what they ended up doing was they had a fake stage with Marty sitting on it, and they had, I think it was 6 people underneath, grabbing the laces and going, pull down.
Nice. Fair enough.
Because they also brought them out, though, in the
They
past
did.
10
They
years.
did a special edition of that in 2015, and they also did a 2012 release without the power laces. But yeah, it's interesting to see like the parallels of what happened in films like this, and quite often it does inspire engineers such as ourselves, and then actually create the things.
I think the one from, like you were mentioning about the dome that fills up.
Yeah.
There's some engineers that have designed a safety device that if you fall, it expands over to your head.
Oh,
Really?
wait, so
This
this
is
is
very similar.
This is for bikers, I think, right?
The one
I've
I
just seen
saw,
one for bikers.
the one I saw was for LD if they fall.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
But
I like
yes,
that.
there is one for
Yeah.
bikers. There was a TV show that was on there a while ago. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but what they did was developed a safety device that if you fell off scaffolding would expand
Oh my
to try and
gosh.
save your life as such. It worked, but obviously it's still with an airbag. It
Yeah.
deflates. It's the deflation.
Yeah.
It's to take the energy out, whereas they struggled with that. Or if not, you would just bounce everywhere.
Yeah.
Just trying to have a look at my list to see if there's any other silly ones that I was going to bring up. Oh yeah, the fingerprint scanners as well. They were used in the 70s by James Bond.
Nowadays they're used in canteens at schools.
Yeah, well,
Hang
we
on,
had them on all the
you had to
doors.
put that's how you put money on your
Yes.
account.
Yeah.
Did you have that one, old man,
What?
at your school? The fingerprint scanner.
I don't know. I never used the cafe.
Oh.
I don't think they did. I think they had smart cards still.
Well, they do cards at our school as well, but they also do the fingerprints. You can choose which one.
They did do. I did. I was there for the changeover from cash to smart cards to make the queues go down quicker because they were having a real problem with everyone having the right change.
Yeah, that's what was with ours. But when we had to do it, it must have been early.
Yeah,
cheaper
to keep
because
goes.
when we got told that we were doing this, we all had to go into the room and scan all our fingers. But every time you wanted to put money on, that one wouldn't work. You had to do it.
Yeah.
And then none of them were. And you do it again, you go, oh, there you go. So the actual queue was taken from the canteen and to
All
the
the way to
machine
the-
to
yeah.
put
Yeah.
money on.
Oh man. Oh, the other one that I've seen is robot dog, surveillance robot disguised as a dog. I forgot about that scene. That's a bit weird.
I don't remember
The
that.
1985 View to a Kill. So it's not one of the ones that you tend to watch
Okay.
Yeah, I was
because
gonna say.
that's the George Lazenby, I believe. Episode.
Oh, was he the James Bond that was just like for 1 or 2 films and then
Yeah, he
skipped on to the
did.
next person?
Yeah, he did a few. It was basically the well-known ones are going to be Sean Connery, Roger Moore, and Brosnan, and I guess Craig now.
Yeah.
But there are people in between as well.
Didn't even realise.
I watched
Yeah.
Brosnan onwards, so I really don't know any of the old ones.
Yeah, there's one that's an 18 as well, which was I think it was. Let me have a look. Can't remember the name of it. View to Kill maybe. One of them was an 18. There's a bit where someone falls into a piranha pit and basically just blood appears.
Ooh.
Oh, too gory.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
basically put the
that's-
gore content. That's the only thing I swear that would have made it an 18. But it was
It's
also
quite funny, really, because some of
Yeah.
the content of the other films and the fact that they're actively trying to kill each other,
yeah,
that's fine.
yeah.
Bit of blood, nah.
Nah,
You don't actually see the bullets.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
It's fine because to a kid you can be like, oh yeah, that one's just gone for a nap.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he's just sleeping really
Yeah, he's-
hard. Yep.
And it-
He's not waking up. Nah, it's fine. He's just really
Deep
deep in sleep.
sleep.
Yeah.
One of my favourite similarities to nowadays is a billionaire with a space program is taking people up into space for colonisation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right there.
Where have I seen this before?
Okay. Do we have anything else we'd like to breach to the table today, chaps? Or are we gonna call it a do?
I think we should.
I mean, I'm just gonna say there's so many random.
I know you could just
Random.
keep talking about
Yeah.
random tech.
There's so much random tech that like.
Tell you what I could do is tell you about real life examples.
Yeah, go for
Yeah.
it.
I've got this lovely horrible histories clip which I can't play for you right now, of course.
history.
Yeah, it's always horrible histories. But some of the examples I've got in front of me is a poison tipped umbrella.
Yep.
So
Yep.
to shoot
That was the thing,
shoot poison out, and that was used sometimes during the Cold War as well.
And in was it as one of the small Wiltshire villages recently? Or-
Salisbury.
Salisbury,
There's
yes,
a
there you
city,
go.
but yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, city. Sorry.
The main city of
Salisbury
Wiltshire.
poisonings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of harks back to that same thing. An untraceable letter opening device. So I believe.
Traceable letter.
Yes. Oh, that's it.
Oh,
So it's
I
really
think.
thin. It would go in the corner of the envelope. It would hook onto the paper. You'd twist the device so that it rolls the paper around this tiny little bit.
That's actually kind of smart.
That's
You
really
pull
I
the
actually
whole
really love
letter
that.
out, and then you can read
And then,
it.
and then you can
and
put it
then
back
you
into
can
the sealed
reround it,
envelope.
yeah.
Oh my god.
That's
That's cool.
That's cool,
That's
isn't
actually
it?
really cool.
And then finally pigeons as well. They'd use pigeons often.
Yeah.
Which is quite sad, really, given how pigeons are treated now. Whereas back in the First World War, actually, they'd stick a camera on and then train the pigeon to fly over and then come back, and that's how they got surveillance.
Yeah, us using animals as as surveillance is something that's gone back so far. Like the Russians used certain dolphins and
Dolphins?
dolphins and whales, and and the thing is, it's a bit sus when you see a whale with a strap on it and a box on it. You're just
Yeah.
like, I think that one might be a spy, you know? I think that one might be the surveillance one, because it doesn't look like anything else. Yeah.
That's wild. But that would really limit you as well, because it's only around like the coastline.
Yeah.
And even then, everyone stops to look at dolphins. So
I think-
that's
I
gonna.
wonder if the whales is for like.
I think they were using the whales to
Oh,
try and get
see.
early detection of submarines.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm done.
Yeah.
I was thinking on land.
no, you're good.
I teach the future generations.
I'm so sorry.
I know the Russians during the Cold War. This was a random one. They part of the spy kit was lipstick. That was a single shot gun.
Oh yes.
So it's like a single bullet, just.
Yeah, there's a variation on that on my list actually, because I think they basically must have known about it. I think it was a pen, a pen with a single shot.
Yeah. There were lots of like
Cigarette gun as well.
Yeah, and I think as time went on, they kind of started to move away from like the really obvious like bullet hole like or bullet based weapons into poison and well, I mean, I suppose that there was chemical warfare as well.
Yeah.
But
It's going back to that idea of bullies in the classroom, plausible deniability.
Oh, yeah.
That's the same level, right? Like, killing spies, stopping your bully from annoying you.
I'm not saying anything.
I was going to say that there's a famous one that I know of. So this was disclosed. What's it called? After a fair few years, basically the US had been declassifying a lot of documents, and the CIA showed off a weapon that they had developed a very long time ago, called a heart attack gun. Now, the gun basically had it basically shot a bit of venom effectively from, I think it's from from a specific strain of pufferfish that would just simulate a heart attack. So, and the thing is,
Oh,
Sorry.
she's off.
bless you.
Bless you.
Obviously, they declassified this many years later, and you're like, how long has this thing been in use for? How many prominent people do we know that have died via heart attack?
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh boy,
Yeah.
it could have been any of them. Yeah. I think the poisoning side of things was definitely like the one to go for. I know people talked about the ice bullet.
Oh, but it just melt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, it is smart. It's,
Still an entry hole though.
still an entry hole, but no bullet, no
Yeah.
casing, nothing that can give you fingerprints, nothing like that. And that itself is huge.
I mean, concealing weapons and things like that, as I'm going through history, would be the sort of ninjas from Japan. They concealed as many weapons as possible. Just a quick.
Sounds like most
Google
people
search.
from Swindon as well. Way.
Yeah, they like. It's a bit like what was it? Assassin's Creed, where they'd have concealed
Knives
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and
Wrist-
just or shuriken, things like that,
Yeah.
daggers and things. So we've in terms of, and they were, says here they were very good at getting intelligence.
Ah,
So that's another era of like getting
Interrogation.
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm just looking through like my examples of spies throughout time, and that seems to be the common theme, is that during wartime people would pretend to be a double agent. Like I've got here.
Talking of which, is that what your posters are about?
Oh, maybe. Who would have thought I'd put that all together? But yeah, so for example, we have James Armistead Lafayette, which I'm not clued up. I don't know if that's the same Lafayette from. I think it is from. Huh?
Lafayetteville, Lafayette Town.
No, I was going to say that was included in Hamilton and the story of Hamilton. I'm not sure.
Alexander.
That's one for us to look at and for
I'm
Gresh
not-
to apologise about.
I tried
next
watching
time.
Hamilton. It's just too musical for me. So
No,
I
it
stopped.
wasn't. It wasn't. I had to keep stopping and be like, "Do you know what's happening?" He's like, "Nope."
I had no clue because they were singing, not telling me what was
They
going
were
on.
rapping. It's very.
They were rapping. Yeah, I was going to say they weren't singing.
Same thing.
Anyway.
Oh, you say Eminem is not a musician? How dare you!
Point
He's
is, he planted false information during the U.S. Civil War.
Sounds like Trump on
Not
Twitter.
Civil War, sorry, the Fight for Independence. So I believe it is the same Lafayette. Interesting guy. But importantly, he was an enslaved man who then became a free man. So the fact that he was willing to help the United States through such a thing, I think is quite interesting. He must have had a lot of conflict going on in there, that he'd been an enslaved person working within the United States to then go and help them gain independence.
Indoctrination.
Maybe. Then the only other examples I've got are like shot right through to the Second World War. So we have William Sebald. He's born in Germany but moved to the US, and he was told when he went back to Germany to visit his mother, they were like, "You have to spy for us because you're living in the US. You can spy for us." Instead, he went, "No, fuck you, I'm not doing that." Didn't say that to them.
He went 9.
He turned around. He turned around and was like,
"It's not that time yet."
Okay, sorry.
He made them think like, "Yes, I will do that for you then," but actually went to the FBI and was like, "Look, this is a proposal the Germans are giving to me. How about you try and pass me fake information to pass on to them?" Is like
Nice.
So yeah, it was quite clever of him to do that.
Who's a jammy bastard?
He actually helped stop the Germans from finding out about the development of the atomic bomb that the US were doing. So it's quite helpful there. We have Listy. Oh, I'm gonna butcher pronunciation.
Good.
Basak. She was part
Sounds
of the
like a
British
disease.
Special
You said
Operations.
that right.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Basak.
Okay.
I think it's mostly like a French name.
Very French.
Yeah.
She was actually part of the British Special Operations Executive, which is what was is known as the SOE that Winston Churchill created, and mostly used women because they were seen as, well, people didn't need to
Innocent
worry
and-
about them.
yeah,
More
yeah.
innocent. Which leads us to our posters. It was
Many
a lot of propaganda
posters.
that told men, don't divulge any information to the women that you're seeing because they could actually be a spy.
Keep mum, she's not so dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
Sailor beware, loose talk can cost lives.
So she was actually one of the first people to be parachuted into German-occupied France and worked from there. So yeah, pretty ballsy lady. And then we have Virginia Hall, born in the US, but then was spent a lot of time travelling over Europe, so she was very aware of what was going on at the time. So she worked for the SOE within Germany, so a little bit of a bigger risk for her. And what her thing was she was making safe houses for other spies so that they had somewhere to go and stay, and also, of course, delivering that intelligence. And then finally, what made me think of all of this was because Gresh started talking about the Cold War. We have a very famous person called Aldrich Ames. I don't know if you've heard of that name before. So he was a spy during the Cold War, but for the Russians. So he was American, and he went against them. He worked in the CIA and gave a lot of direct information from the CIA to the Russians. And then the CIA were going, how on earth did they find out this information? He's like, I don't know, I'm going to find out. Turns out it was him all along. He did get found out, and he's been in prison since 1994. Yeah, so not always fighting. When we look at spies, it did happen on both sides, and as it goes back to our original statement, people are always going to want to lie to each other and try and find out information from each other.
As we found everywhere as you spies.
Yeah, we're all
every
scrolling here, like,
history.
yeah, this person cheated this person did this, oh yeah.
Every time you guys say the words Cold War, I just imagine there's a phrase that Judi Dench says in James Bond where she goes, "Oh, I missed the Cold War. At least I knew where my enemies were."
Very true. Are we ending on that note?
Yep, on that
No.
Dave Judy Dench.
Do we want to go through where we think the future of...
Could do, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
That'd
really
be good.
mentioned it a little bit.
Because obviously, like right now...
And where do you think the future's
Oh.
going to be?
Yeah,
Put it
yeah.
in the comments.
Because I think in the past, we obviously relied on spies, kind of doing, I suppose, doing the grunt work, but also like, finding the information, being like leading a double life effectively to try and get info out. But as technology has progressed and as time has moved on, we're moving towards more surveillance.
More surveillance.
More surveillance rather than actually having boots on the ground.
Yeah.
If you get what I
Maybe.
mean.
I mean, everyone's got cameras all over their properties
Maybe
now
we'll
that
go
they're
back
hacked
to
into.
pigeons with cameras. Maybe they have. Maybe
Maybe the pigeons are robots.
Maybe the
Maybe
pigeons
the
are
cameras
robots.
are
They-
in the
yeah,
pigeons
No, I
already.
knew it.
It's going to go full circle.
It does though. It does. If you if we're discussing here what might happen in the future, you're talking about that, and I'm thinking, well, actually, there's examples of that in history. They just go back to old ideas and make them better.
I mean, in terms of what you were saying, surveillance. I can't remember when it was. A few years ago now, Bentley did a photo shoot where you could actually. It was taken. I think it was on the Golden Gate Bridge, and it was driving along, and it was taken from quite far away, and you could zoom so far in, you can actually see the stitching on the logo on the seat.
Ooh.
Which reminds me, I think it was one of the films where they'd had the satellite where they could zoom in and get unbelievable detail.
Yeah.
It's basically, I think it's going to be like that now.
Yeah.
Where they're going to be able to look at something on a pinhead from miles away.
Well, I mean, this is something that everyone seems to think that NASA is like this organization that's separate from the military. That's not true. So quite a lot of what NASA's achieved, like going to the moon, was primarily funded, obviously, by the U.S. government during the Cold War because we wanted to beat the Russians. But also, in that time, there were multiple key engineers who have mentioned that there were pockets of space within their satellites that they had to make. They didn't know why. Why for? And then suddenly
Spicy.
there would... And everyone kind of knew that there would be some crazy camera kind of going into that space that they weren't aware of.
So it's just before the iPad dies, that's the photo. It zoomed in, and then that's as close as
Oh
it could
wow,
get.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It is
From
ridiculous.
really, there's like a video. I'll send you the.
Make sure you drop a link into
Yeah.
our slide deck so I can put it on for lovely people.
You can play videos over the top, or just can we do the horrible histories clip?
No, because that's copyrighted.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm allowed to do it because I'm a teacher, so I can use it in the
Yeah.
classroom. See, but yeah, I
Technically,
forget.
we can get in trouble for even doing the James Bond theme. So
Don't sue us, please.
Yes,
Please.
the link.
But
has
sponsor
been
us.
sent.
Yeah.
The link has been sent, and it's
Thank you.
it's an amazing video. Like it just zooms so far in. It's like they can get that much detail.
Yeah, it's a bit scary, isn't it?
I
Like,
reckon robot dogs is going to really happen, but it's going to be really realistic.
well, they're
robot
technically
dogs.
already happening. You've got these
Yeah.
robot animatronics running around.
But
Oh,
they're
they always
still
creep me out as well.
Obviously not a dog.
No.
At the minute that they're showing us,
The
maybe they're
moment.
showing us the early models, and there's
Yeah,
actually
that's
others
true.
already out there.
I think we're probably going to go kind of a step
That's what
further.
the cat is that keeps shitting my flower beds.
Oh, it's a spy, of course. I knew it. No,
I know all your secrets.
I think we're going to start moving away from, I suppose, setting up equipment to spy on people or to get us equipment, but start utilizing technology that the other country already has against them. So if you've got a laptop that's already got a microphone and a camera, how can I use software to kind of get into your system to use your own microphone and your camera against it?
Well, they do that with ransomware and things
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
where they can
Like-
shut down
Yeah.
everything, access.
We're already doing that. I think that's only going to get, better
Yeah.
or worse, I
Well, with the
suppose.
ability of quantum computing to hack
Yes.
almost every, every password.
Quantum computing just breaks passwords.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
what in the past would have taken millions or billions of years to crack a password now turns into a lot more reasonable chunk of time with quantum computing.
Which brings us, that could be the next James Bond.
Yeah, no.
Dun,
this is true.
dun.
But funnily enough, that is still links back to history. It links back to Turing and his bomb machine.
Yeah,
so
true.
they're always every time people
Always
don't
a
realise
link.
it, but
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
just go back to it. Speaking of, I forgot to mention about Turing when his life after the war. Very sad. I don't know if you guys
Don't
know
make
what
me
happened to
sad.
him.
Yeah, I had they give you a brief description when I watched the film.
Imitation
And
Game.
then,
Yeah, so it was offered, despite all the work he'd done and how much he'd helped the government, they turned around and really like I don't know whether he admitted to being homosexual or whether someone else had outed him, or they just simply suspected it. But the offer was chemical castration or prison, I believe. So I
thought it was shock therapy or something like that.
Oh, electroshock therapy. Yeah.
I think a bit both. Yeah, it was definitely a bit
treatment or jail.
Yes, basically. So he opted for the treatment, but it was so miserable for him that he ended up taking his own life, which is horrible to think, really, that someone
one of the smartest people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, he'd helped the war effort and it saved so many lives, and then turn
Should have
around
been a
just simply
decorated
because
hero, but instead,
yeah. Sorry about that. I realise that it doesn't necessarily follow up,
That's
but
okay.
it's really important to remember how much she was failed.
So we've gone from Elizabeth to Bond to the future.
And then back to Turing.
And then back to Turing.
Sorry.
Just because wibbly wobbly, timey wimey
yes,
stuff.
there we go.
Oh yes.
And on that note.
And on that note, I think we'll call it a day.
Goodbye.
Thank you for tuning in. This has been Nerding Out, Geeking Out. Thank you to Amy, our lovely history teacher, for coming along and telling us that we're all dumb.
And for giving bad photocopies.
A very bad
That's
photocopy.
exactly what we're blaming.
That's what
I
teachers...
think we already knew.
You know, that is... I should joke that that's technically what we're taught in teacher training, is how to make a photocopy
really
bad.
bad.
The teacher copy fine, not so much for everyone
Worse and
else.
worse. See you later,
Anyways,
guys.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Peace.